Ready to go?
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, I did say welcome, thank you.
Right. Well, thank you everyone at the Council for granting me this opportunity to make a submission on behalf of the Akaroa Civic Trust, of which I'm the Chair, and the Akaroa Community Health Trust, of which I'm a trustee. I feel in a very unique situation here because most people making a submission to your annual plan usually want something in the way of money or a change that advantages them. I'm here in a unique situation to suggest a revenue-raising exercise that I have been suggesting for 2 or 3 years now, which involves an equivalent to a levy of $5 per passenger on all cruise ships entering Akaroa Harbour. And I've worked out, I hope, a mechanism that would be acceptable to Council. So our Mayor sitting here has often referred to Akaroa as the jewel in Canterbury's crown. And sometimes it is like that, but lately it's become a little jaded. And one of the reasons is it's been overused. In recent years, we have welcomed millions of cruise ship passengers to our harbour, and the town has endured significant disruption to the way it normally operates. The traders and the hospitality operators have enjoyed a surge in business, but the residents have had to take it on the chin. And this has been going on for 8 years, ever since the earthquake made Littleton unusable for cruise liners. So, and it's grown and grown. This last season, we have had 92 cruise ships entering Akaroa waters, tendering their passengers to the wharf. Christchurch City Council over the same period has made millions of dollars in cruise ship berthing fees, and after settling a small proportion of this to ECAN and others, it has enjoyed a significant contribution to your general finances. Many residents of Akaroa feel the time has come for some of these fees collected to be repaid. And I know that there was a suggestion that the figure of 400,000 might be forthcoming from future cruise ship revenue, and that could be allocated to infrastructure needs in Akaroa, and I would definitely support that. Now, I do appreciate that the Community Board always remind us that Akaroa draws more than it contributes by a ratio of 3 to 1 in terms of rates. So we've had significant capital expenditure provided by Christchurch City Council for water and sewage to come. But I think we treat that as being something that should be covered by our rates. So the cruise industry is a separate issue. And we know that through your LPC investment, you will be very keen to make sure that Littleton delivers a healthy return on your investment. Therefore, you'll be working very hard to direct certainly the bigger ships to Littleton. I was encouraged to read the Have Your Say results on the recent survey, targeted rate survey, where numerous of the respondents said, why don't you help fund the health hub with a levy on cruise ships? And that was not part of the information the council put out, it was just people volunteering their views. I know that the council cannot directly impose a levy on cruise ships, that's not part of your remit, but it is possible for you to raise the berthing fees by an amount equivalent to $5 per passenger. So if that's an 1,000 passenger ship, a 5,000 increase in berthing fees, which are currently, I think, calculated at $7 per passenger. We don't believe there's any real pressure that would make that unacceptable to the cruise lines. The additional revenue gained could be directly applied as a grant to the Akaroa community, which has pressing needs, and it could be distributed via the community board. Now, I know the council won't want to be in a position of favouring Akaroa as one district while not applying the same grant mentality to others, but this could be seen as a tourism levy, because Akaroa is unique, perhaps even more so than Littleton, in that it is Christchurch's only tourist town as such, and harbour, and the costs associated with hosting cruise ships are very large, and that is why the town is a little bit worn out. I'll very quickly talk you through what happens when a cruise liner arrives in our harbour. As I heard Harry Stronach say, up to 40 buses will arrive in town, and their sole purpose in being there is to take people straight out again to go on their excursions to Hanmer, Mount Cook, or wherever the agents have sold them. Cruise liners make an average of 300% markup on excursions, so this is their main operational objective, is to maximise cruise ship excursion traffic. What this has meant in Akaroa is that you have congestion, you have pollution, you have the ship in the harbour moored with its engines running all day, and you have blue smoke coming out of it because they're not yet using low sulphur fuel, which they have to use in places like Milford, being a categorised World Heritage Site. We seem to be lagging behind other countries in enforcing clean air activity by the cruise ships. We've had a catch-up exercise by council facilities staff, which is why we had unconsented toilets put into a historic reserve, which have luckily now been taken out. The streets become congested on a double cruise ship day. You could say it's not very enjoyable for anyone. And luckily, Lauren Heafy at Christchurch, New Zealand, assures me that she's managed to persuade cruise lines to divert ships that would otherwise come next year two on the same day. It is sheer hell in the village, and I think that's one of the reasons why Harry Stronach's group, the Ratepayers Association, has gained traction, because people have just had enough. And what was acceptable for a few years after the earthquake has reached breaking point. Now, we're a very welcoming town, we're a tourist town, and the Civic Trust has always supported activities that make our visitors welcome. We're not anti-cruise ship, although some of the locals would feel we are. I believe it's time to reinvent our tourist strategy in Akaroa. I think ADP needs a lot of help. I think maybe Christchurch, New Zealand can help them there. It's a wonderful opportunity to go back to what made the town the attractive tourist destination it always was. As Harry said, a lot of the attractions have now gone, and it's time for us to replace them. If the council can see a way to creating this revenue by the method I've suggested, there would be some wonderful improvements that could be made which would make tourism even more fun in Akaroa. We could have an improved reception booth at the end of the wharf instead of that unsightly porter cabin. We could have a general tidy up of the Britomart Reserve, including the removal of unsightly traffic cones that are stored there as though the place doesn't matter. We could have additional toilet facilities and showers, either on the wharf or at the wreck ground. We could consider a new wharf at the wreck ground so that tenders could come in and collect, having disembarked their passengers, the buses could use the wreck ground instead of having to travel right through the village, which is a very, very difficult exercise and causing a lot of congestion. We could repair the seawalls and the local roads, other than those that transit look after. They've been overused by heavy traffic. We could make a contribution to the Akaroa Health Centre. We could create some funding for the new D&A committee, which replaces the old ADAAC. I think the council has been playing catch up, and it is time to draw breath and realise that New Zealand generally has to reassess its tourism mentality. More is not better. And Harry pointed to 75% dissatisfaction with the council in his survey. I hope that my initiative here could mitigate that. The community would welcome what could then turn out to be hundreds of thousands of dollars in the next few years by using this levy and converting it into a grant. When I first mentioned it 2 years ago, I calculate we would have been $1.6 million in credit if we'd levied every single ship coming in for the last 2 years. And I think the apprehension that some people felt that cities like Napier had attempted this and had negative reaction, I don't think we need to concern ourselves with that. As Harry said, Queenstown and Stewart Island have seen that they need to support their infrastructure in this way, and I suggest it would be appropriate for Akaroa as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we've reached the 10 minutes, so I do apologise, but that's what happens when we get to the full 10 minutes. I have to say no to questions, so I do apologise. But
perfectly democratic, your worship.
But not the best, not the best. But thank you very much for your